Hello, friends. I'm back, so I'm back. Okay, so today is Thursday, the 25th of February 2025. And I don't know, I haven't been listening to the news, but the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, was supposed to go to the US to see Trump. I'm not sure. I haven't checked. I don't know whether this has happened already. But I thought about saying a few things about these peacekeeping forces in Ukraine and the rare earths thing and Trump and Macron, and I'm going to talk a little bit about all that. Okay, the Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov said about 2 days ago, I believe, he said something about those statements about sending troops to Ukraine, and the fact that Trump was saying yes to that, that Russia would probably agree. He said that sort of off the cuff when Macron was there. Anyway, Lavrov said empty words to that. He continued to blame Europe for continuing, this is what he said, continuing to want to escalate the war and so on. And he said that this continuous urging on the part of, he mentioned France and the UK, was aimed at, he said, they want to continue to heat up, he said, the conflict and trying to stop any attempt to a resolution. He was, I said, referring to words by Donald Trump, who said that Russia could actually very well accept those peacekeeping troops in the Ukraine. And Lavrov, emphasized that he actually did emphasize the point that no one had talked to Russia about that matter, and that Moscow is strongly opposed to that measure. Okay, so let's start. Begin at the beginning. Macron went to the US about 2 days ago, right? And Starmer was supposed to go today, Thursday. Macron obviously always want to be the one representing the European Union and NATO, and Britain not in the European Union, not officially anyway. So they had to go separately, yeah. Both interested in sending troops. Why? Okay. And why did Trump say that it could perhaps be possible, that perhaps Russia could agree to that? You have to understand Trump to begin to talk about anything. Look, Macron goes with the idea, this is all my speculation, of course, but Macron goes with the idea, with a clear idea on that. For the US, he's going to present it to Trump. In his mind, in his mind, he's trying to get somehow sort of Trump's approval to send those troops. That's what he went there for. For him, the trip itself was nothing to do with Trump's rare earth things, that issue of rare earths or anything like that. Trump has a very clear idea on the rare earths issue. He wants them for the US. In his mind, that is what is on his mind at the moment. I want those rare earths for the US. Fine. That's what is on his mind. And so here he is now with this guy from France. He doesn't really think too much of him, I don't think. And Macron is telling him this thing about sending troops and all that, and that is at the moment very secondary a matter for Trump. So he sees Macron as a little bit of a nuisance. That is my feeling about it all. This guy there. So why do these guys want to talk to me about sending these troops? That is he's not concerned about that at the moment. He's concerned at the moment with the rare earths issue. So there he is, sitting there, and explains to the whole world, with the French puppet there sitting next to him, that there is going to be an agreement with Russia about rare earths, money that will be money in some sort of way that will be coming back to the US, and we, the US, we have spent so much money in the Ukraine, and now we're going to reach an agreement and have some sort of compensation. But he doesn't mention that the that the United States was the one who started it all. He just thinks, okay, we've spent all this money there, and now we have to somehow recover some of it. And right there and then, Macron, while he's telling all this about the rare earths, Macron, thinking that he is perhaps cleverer than he actually is, thinking that he is cleverer than Trump, perhaps, tries to throw him a curved ball, as it were. It was a little bit of a trick. First, he's sort of smiling, he's grabbing Trump's hand and all that nonsense. All that 2 days ago, okay? And at one specific moment, he brings up the issue of the troops. Okay, that comes up. And, of course, Trump, who's thinking for him the main thing is rare earths and all that, he says to that issue, oh, yes, well, Russia, yes, will probably agree. Yes, no problem with that, and so on. Off the cuff. Trump, nevertheless, at no time makes an official statement about it, aware, I think, of Macron's little trick. What Trump wants is to get what he wants, and at this point is the rare earths thing. And he's going to allow no one to get in the way of that agreement that he is going to sign with Zelensky about the rare earths for the US. So what happened, I think, with that curved ball about the peacekeeping troops is that he is focused on something, and you, Macron, distract him with something else that you are interested in, and he'll just say, oh, yes, that's sure, yes, of course, yes, we'll do that too. I'm going to come back to this point because I want to explain something first. Let's go back a little. Okay, there is a vote in the UN. A resolution is accepted that says that Russia is not the guilty one on this war with the Ukraine. That Russia is not the aggressor. Goodness, where did that come from? Lo and behold, really? You remember, wasn't everyone agreeing 2 minutes ago about, Russia, invasion, Russia bad, all that? Well, this is important. Listen, France and the UK abstained. Yes, abstained. I'm going to tell you why. and all the shenanigans about that. Okay, first, the US government told them, Europe, UK, you are going to vote in the UN that Russia is not the aggressor. That first. Then, after you do that, then perhaps, just maybe I'll talk to you about those peacekeeping troops, forces of yours that you want there. That's why Boris Johnson was saying 2 days ago that of course Zelensky has to accept that wonderful deal with Trump, the deal that Trump is offering him. Oh yes, of course it's a little bit of a mistreatment of Zelensky, kind of, but still he will have to accept it. Why is he saying that? Why? Because I think all those European puppets were convinced that Ukraine's rare earths were going to be handed over to the US in exchange for what? In exchange for the US allowing, saying yes or not interfering with European troops in that area to generate more of a conflict there. Why? But Trump, who was talking like that, with that carelessness, or is it disdain, with which he sometimes talks, that way he has of waving, dismissing, slapping problems that he's not considering, waving them out of his way, when the other party really is interested in talking about another issue, dismisses it with some words. In other words, I'm not interested in that. Why? What I'm interested in is rare earths at the moment, and this thing about troops. Yes, sure, okay. So yeah, I'm sure Russia will agree. Yes, I'm sure there will be troops. No problem. He wants to move on. Later on, he will say, oh yes, there's going to be troops in the Ukraine for sure, but they won't, he might be saying this, he's moving along, but they might not be European. They'll be, who knows, troops from Indonesia or Vietnam or Timbuktu, wherever, from anywhere. So everyone, don't worry about it. France, UK, don't worry about it. Calm down and be happy. There will be troops there for sure, and France will be happy, and the UK will be happy, and everything will be fine. Everything will be taken care of. And he will say this with the same carelessness, or is it disdain, with the same calm and the same straight face with which he told them previously a day ago, yes, Putin will most probably agree to troops being sent in the UK. Now, what I am emphasizing here, what I am saying is not that Trump doesn't know what he is saying, and it is all the same to him. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that is he who is going to spoil their game, not the other way around. Not that they are the ones who are going to spoil his. It is he who, with the same calmness, the same matter-of-fact attitude, is going to take them, the Europeans, out of the equation here. And those European puppets that want something from him do not realize, have not realized yet, I think, that Donald Trump never, ever agrees to something formally that he himself is not interested in. He'll tell you, yes, 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 of course, yeah. But when the moment of truth comes, when it is there in front of him and in front of you who are trying to deal with him, agree to something with him, with the same calmness that he said, yes, yes, of course, he now will say no. Why? Because he doesn't know the difference? Oh, yes, he does. I don't think so. Because you thought you were leading him, and in fact, he was leading you. And now, though he said, yes, yes, I'm sure everything will be all right, now he's going to say emphatically, no, no way. Of course not. We are not going to do that. How could you possibly think we were ever going to do that? That's crazy. And you said, but you said before, no, he said, no, we can't do that. And that's it. And that's Trump. It's a peculiar way of doing business, yes, a different way from what Europeans are used to about getting a deal and getting agreements made. For if Trump was to be serious about sending European troops to the Ukraine, God help us. Now, let's go to the core of the issue here. What interest does Europe have in, as they say, having or putting boots on the ground in Ukraine? Come on, let's think about that. Let's think a little about that. What interest does Europe have in sending troops, European troops, to the Ukraine? None. Another thing is if you say, okay, we want troops in the Ukraine to continue fighting against Russia. Okay, any troops fighting against Russia, that will be fine. It doesn't matter from where. They could come from Madagascar, Timbuktu, the Polynesian, whatever, any troops. But no, they're not saying that. They're saying our troops. We want our troops there, and we are getting them ready. Of course, the US could say, okay, if you want to go, if you insist on going, you go. But not our troops, our American troops. Certainly not under, they could say, the US could say, not under Article 5 of NATO. But that wouldn't work, you see, US, because so what? So what, USA, if you say that? You know very well that once they are in, they will have a free hand in the area, opportunities for false flags and all. So what I'm saying is, it is very difficult that Russia would ever say yes, or would have said yes, or will say yes. That's fine. As Trump let those words fall out of his mouth. Not right now anyway, but things could change. No. So we're going to see what happens in the next few days. I'm going to be attentive. The British Prime Minister is there now, I think, right? So it is possible, just possible, that in the next few days negotiations could be carried out to agree to certain very specific conditions by which those European troops are deployed. We would have to see under what conditions. But I think it's reasonable to assume, unlikely, that Russia will leave such a big loophole there open for a trap. And we are already witnessing how Europeans are doing anything at all, whatever it takes, selling their own grandmother, whatever. The rare earths for Trump, yeah, that's fine. That's for the US. Anything. Agreeing to that. Look, Boris Johnson saying 2 days ago, of course, Zelensky will have to sell rare earths to the US. Of course. Well, Zelensky will have to accept an agreement with the US, of course. Not with Britain, no, with the US. Why? Because Johnson and the rest believe that this agreement with the US entails the US consent for European troops to be sent to Ukraine. So if European puppets are so eager, so willing to give in to this rare earths thing, it is because in that deployment of troops to the Ukraine, there is a trap. Capito? A reason why Russia for sure will stay firm with that no. We're going to see it soon, where Trump stands in some sensitive issues. You see, it is, I find it, I may be totally wrong, but I find it easy to follow him in a funny sort of convoluted sort of way. One may even find some coherence there in Trump. He may, of course, change completely and do a complete turnaround on the peace thing, on the peace agreement with Russia. But if he is serious about a peace resolution, we will witness, I promise you we will, almost promise, you will see how he gets rid of the troops issue, just like that, if he continues to do things, that is, in the same way that he normally does. That is, he'll simply slap the issue away with a wave of his hand. Boris Johnson knows, he must know, that sending troops means having the perfect justification, and in this case I say Boris Johnson, I include Europeans and NATO, have the perfect justification to start a new conflict that will, of course, bring money into the pockets of all those puppets who are obeying the commandments of the globalist corporate elite in this case, and the industrial military complex. Come on, the Rothschildren, okay, and they are willing to allow a bad deal. In other words, they are saying the rare earths, okay, Trump is interested in these rare earths, okay, 1 billion, whatever it might be, let's give Trump that one, we won't worry about it, let him have it, okay, let him have the rare things, the rare earth things, we let him have that one. But we have to reserve for ourselves the possibility of being able to start a new conflict with all the lovely dough that brings. That is to say, I know I'm being cynical, but I think that is how things are working out. That is to say, because what is at stake here is real money, 20-40 billion. Let therefore Trump, that idiotic Trump, let him have the rare earths thing, let him worry about that. We will say yes to that, we will not interfere. But we need a justification for all that lovely money. And this is the first point. The second point, what do you think is the second point? You think that Donald Trump, having reached this super agreement with Russia, a beautiful deal with Russia about the rare earths, beautiful deal, big deal he calls it. Biden threw all that money away down the drain, and now Trump is going to recoup some of it, perhaps even more. This is what he's hoping for. He's going to get it back. This is like an investment that you made that went wrong, and you were left, you thought, with practically nothing, and all of a suddenly comes Trump and actually doubles it, and is a worthy. The investment has been worth it, doubled it. That investment that you thought went south now has redoubled. You see, the thing is that Europe is not what it was. European leaders. We no longer have the European leaders that we used to have. In England, those upper crust aristocracy, so able and so intelligent, I don't know the numbers, but 1,000 men ruled the empire. Now you need 50,000 to run the education department. But even though they were so learned and well-read and upper class, the English were always pirates. I say this with love because I love England and I have lived here practically all my life. Okay, but they were and they are. It's just that now they don't know how to do it properly. But they were not pirates, obviously, with a wooden leg and a parrot here. No, they were. There were pirates dressed up in safari suits and, carrying a tourist map. Oh, look, there are some mines over there. How interesting. And a harbor over the other side, yeah. But they were intelligent about it. And now, no, I mean, these ones now, the how am I going to say this? Because I was raised in an orphanage in Spain, but I have to say, look, this is new money. They just don't have it. They just don't have the same class about it. So you can see through them. I mean, So that's about England. But I'd rather have an intelligent pirate, as it were, than have France. I mean, France. France has always been a harlot. No, no, and this is different from the Germans or the Spaniards who go there front first. You see them, no. The English don't do it that way. The French, with that agreement about rare earths with Russia, an agreement in the making, believe it or not, this big deal, he calls it. It is Trump, I think, who might be deceiving the globalists. That's a big thing to say. It's not easy to deceive them. They are 5 steps way ahead of you. But I think that Trump realizes what is going on. And it is him, it is Trump, who is might be leading the Europeans and NATO down the garden path, and not them tricking him as they think they are. You see, there is a problem also with the rare earths issue. Putin, he was speaking about a couple of days ago, said something like, well, you have to, talking about the rare earths, you have to quantify it. What does Putin mean? Why is he talking about quantifying anything? Because he knows that the great part of rare earths are in the eastern part of Ukraine, in the Donbass, in that area, not in the western part. And the eastern area is already Russian, it's already in Russian hands. And Russia, which has a formidable intelligence service, espionage, probably estimates that really there aren't very many rare earths in the western part for all the noise that's being made out of them. Could it be that Trump is actually, what he's doing is selling the idea of victory, winning within the US, and then when the actual rubber hits the road, as the Americans like to say, it's really not going to be all that much. Many say that many of those rare earths in the western part have been burnt and so on. So look, nevertheless, from the Europeans' point of view, if you have troops inside Ukraine, if they are already there, all that need happen to start another conflict is very easy, is for Ukraine to attack inside Russia. It's been happening. And then Russia will have to respond, and it is obvious to me that what the globalists, the Rothschildren are doing, or trying to do, is, look, if we go in, is like already flooding the site with petrol, with gasoline. And all you need then is a match. If you have English and French troops inside the Ukraine, you have already a pool of gasoline all over the place. And all you need is that little spark of a false flag. That is why it is almost impossible that Russia would have said or will say yes to what Trump said about troops, peacekeeping troops in the Ukraine. Lavrov was very, very clear. He said those are empty words. We have not been asked anything about that, the troops. We have not discussed it. So, to recap, the globalists, the Europeans, NATO, etc., are agreeing with Trump and urging Zelensky to agree to selling or whatever, not selling, to agree to hand over the rare earths to Trump. And they think that that will mean that that Trump will agree or will not interfere directly at first, anyway, about with sending troops, European forces to Ukraine. And in order to do that, in order to get those troops in the Ukraine, they are willing to let him own the issue of rare earths. Trump wants the rare earths, and for them to leave him alone with that and not interfere, he's willing to say at first, oh yes, peace, peacekeeping for, yeah, sure, no problem with that, I'm sure it will happen, yes. But of course, once it gets to the moment of truth, he will just turn around and tell them, what? No, you insane? Who is leading whom here? The saga continues in a few days. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.